ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहना
सहना
भवतु
भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह वीर्यं
वीर्यं
करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
मा
मा
विद्विषावहै
विद्विषावहै
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः.
शान्तिः.
So we had finished the Shanti Mantra, Anuvaka 1, and we were on the Anuvaka 2, which was chanted by Arvind. And if Arvind is there, Arvind, could you please chant that again, Anuvaka 2.
Om Raviji, he sat for the puja, so he can't get away till the end.
Okay, fine.
So
That's no problem.
he'll send the recording later on.
That's okay. So we'll just chant it out.
Cherry, if you'd like, I can do that.
Yeah, please. Tanmay, go ahead.
Just the second Anuvaka.
Just second Anuvaka ending with Shiksha Dhyaya.
Okay, we're doing call and repeat or?
Call and repeat is the best.
Shiksham Vyakhyasyamaha
Shiksham
Om Shiksham Vyakhyasyamaha
Varnaswaraha
Varnaswaraha
Matrabalam
Matrabalam
Tamasantanaha
Tamasantanaha
Ityuktashikshadhyayaha
Ityuktashikshadyaya.
Okay, so this is the second Anuvaka. First, let me just give you the very brief meaning and then we talk about it. So, Shiksham. Shiksha is the science of pronunciation. Vyakyasyamaha. I will talk about this. I will explain Shiksha Vyakyasyamaha. I will talk about the science of pronunciation. And in that science, we have various components. Varnaha, that is the alphabet. Swaraha, that is the accent. Matra, matra is the measure, the time period for which the alphabet is pronounced. Balam is the strength used in the chanting, the emphasis used in the chanting. Samaha, samaha is the pace, fast pace, slow pace. Samaha generally refers to medium pace. Santanaha, santana is the conjunction. So Varnaswara, Matra, Balam, Sama, Santanaha. These 6 iti uktaha have been taught in Shiksha Adhyayaha, in this chapter on the science of pronunciation. So obviously, it has just been mentioned. Okay, so we have to think about in the Gurukulam when this is the Upanishad, this is chanted, and then the Guru explains each of these words and with pronunciations, with examples, and that's how you know. That is why he says this has been uktaha, this has been now taught. So since that is the background, let us see how we can explain. And this is the second Anuvaka, the second section, and you can see it begins with the word Shiksham. It's a long she, Shiksham, and that is why this particular chapter itself is called Shiksha Valli. Shiksha Valli. It's not Shiksha Valli, it's Shiksha Valli. Now, those who are familiar with even Hindi will know that Shiksha is the correct word. Shi is the short one, right? Shiksha, correct word, short she. And therefore, this long she here is Vedic usage. It is the prerogative of the Veda to make these sort of changes. So it is Vedic usages. And if you remember in some of the Bhagavad Gita verses also, Purushaha is used instead of Purushaha. The correct word is Purushaha with a short U. But Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses Purushaha. In the Upanishads also you will find that Purushaha, the U is lengthened. So this particular Anuvaka, what is it talking about? It is talking about chanting as a sadhana, Parayanam as a sadhana. And chanting of what? Chanting of the Vedic mantras. And since these mantras have come from the rishis, it is coming from the rishis means directly coming from the Lord itself. And therefore, the highest sadhana you can do by way of chanting, by way of Parayanam, is Veda Parayanam. Since Veda is the original Shruti, the original scripture. It's a Shruti. Why is it necessary for the Upanishad to talk about this kind of sadhana? Because remember that written words came in very much later. Traditionally, it was called the Karna Parampara. The teaching was by hearing alone. Somebody would talk and you would hear and repeat and you would memorize. That is called Karna Parampara. Karna means the ears, and therefore the words were learned because it fell on your ears. Because that is so, you learn as your teacher pronounces, and therefore the pronunciation has to be extremely correct. Otherwise, the meaning of the words itself will change. Right? You know that. For example, you take what? Satyam Vada. What does it mean? What does Satyam Vada mean?
Speak the truth.
Speak the truth. Now that is the second. Those who are familiar with the alphabet, there are two ths. The and there is a thicker the. Supposing you pronounce wrongly and you say Satyam Vada instead of Satyam Vada, what are you saying?
Kill.
Kill Satyam. Right? So it's absolutely the opposite. Just the pronunciation, the accent itself, instead of Vada, you have said Vada. Vada means to kill. And therefore, the science of pronunciation is extremely important. The difference in pronunciations can alter the meaning completely. And therefore, the Shruti is pointing out that if you are going to do Veda Parayana, you should know how to chant properly. And there are some rules for chanting. And these rules are very important. And therefore, this Shiksha Shastram, the rules, the science behind the chanting is called Shiksha Shastram. Remember, Shiksha. Shiksha actually means to teach, right? But when we talk about Shiksha Shastram, you're talking about the teaching of the pronunciations, of phonetics. As you know, Sanskrit is a phonetic language. As the word looks to you, you pronounce it exactly the same. And therefore, Shiksha Shastram can be taken as the science of phonetics. If you remember Mundaka, it talks about 4 Vedas and 6 Veda Angas. So Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaranam, all were there. Right? 6 Veda Angas you will remember from Mundaka. And there it says what? Shiksha. So therefore the correct word is Shiksha only. But in this Upanishad, Shruti pronounces it as Shiksha, and that is taken as Chandasa Prayoga. In other words, Vedic usage. And it is accepted. Now, because of the importance of the pronunciation, several acharyas in the tradition have written elaborate texts on Shiksha. But the most popular one is Panini Shiksha Shastram, written by none other than Panini himself. And these 6 factors which are part of this teaching, they are what is being talked about in this particular Anuvaka. Varnaha, Swaraha, Matra, Balam, Sama, Tantanaha. So Varna is the alphabet, Swara is the accent, Matra is the measure, Balam is the strength put into the pronunciation, the emphasis, Sama is uniformity of pace, and Santana means conjunction. So now let us look at each of these parts properly. Varnaha. One must learn to pronounce. And in Sanskrit, those of us who are at least basically familiar with Sanskrit, you know that the Sanskrit alphabet is grouped into various groups. And those groups are based on what? What are the groupings of the Sanskrit alphabet based on?
Salavya, Kanthya.
What does it mean?
The position of the tongue within the mouth.
The part of the body which is being used, a part of the body means only a much of the body, right? The rest of the body is not used. So that part of your head or face which is being used to pronounce, it's on the basis of that these alphabets are arranged. And therefore you have dentals, you have labials, all these, the English names. Of course, in Sanskrit the names are different. So one must know that part of your body or the face or the head from which the sound originates, and the alphabet is arranged in that manner. And unlike in English, where A, E, I, O, U, you'll find that the vowels and the consonants are not separated, all mixed up. In Sanskrit, the consonants are grouped based on the body from which the consonant originates. So that is Varna. Varna means basically alphabet. And when studying the alphabet, one must remember all these points. How to pronounce depends upon where that sound originates from your body. The second one is Swaraha. Now, Swara in English, you can call it the pitch. The pitch in which the alphabet has to be uttered. And the same alphabet can be uttered in different pitches depending upon the mantra that you are chanting. So there is a high pitch, there is a higher pitch, and there is a medium pitch. And there's a normal pitch which is not talked about at all. There's no special markings for that. But for the medium, the higher, and the even higher pitch, there are markings. We'll come to that. So you will find these markings in all the Vedic books. And if any one of you is looking at the Mantra Pushpam, you will find the markings are there. So if you look at the first Anuvaka, above Vya, you will find 2 strokes. So that's pronounced Vyaya, Vya, Kya, Samaha. The Vya has to be dragged. Vya, Kya, Samaha. Then under the Varna, another Na, you will find a small little stroke, which means the voice is to drop. Varna, Swara. Varna, the voice drops a bit. So the Swara must be properly chanted. Otherwise, it's not just the pronunciation, but even the Swara has to be proper, because otherwise the meaning will completely change. In fact, a story is told about this, about how the meaning changes. There was a story of a preceptor, Purohita of the gods, who was called Vishwarupa. So this is not Vishwarupa Ishvara. This Purohit, this priest of the gods, he was known as Vishwarupa, right? Even though he was a priest for the Devatas, when he had his own likes and dislikes, okay, Raga Dvesha, he was under. So he liked the Asuras better. A priest of the gods, but secretly he liked the Asuras better. And Indra, the lord of the gods, did not appreciate this, and just like in Indian politics, they chuck out people when they find that they are disloyal. But here it was more drastic. So Indra got angry, and he killed this Vishwarupa. So Vishwarupa had a father called Twastha. So that father was naturally very angry that his son was killed, and he was furious with Indra Devata, and he wanted revenge. So he did a yajna for another son to be born to kill Indra. Okay, so the special yajna. Incidentally, such a yajna is a tamasic yajna, because the purpose of the yajna is to ensure that harm is done to somebody. So he did this yajna for a son to be born who was supposed to kill Ishvara, right? And the son was to be called Vritasura, born to kill Indra. Now, in chanting this particular mantra for invocation, he wanted Indra Shatruhu. That's very, very important. Indra Shatruhu means the enemy of Indra. Shatru here you can take is somebody who will kill Indra. So Indra Shatruhu he wanted to chant, but he chanted Indra Shatru. Big difference. I mean, it looks very simple. Indra Shatruhu, Indra Shatru. Right? The difference is Indra Shatru is basically Indra Shatru, to whom Indra is a Shatru. Right? So when he's chanting for a son who was supposed to kill Indra, because of the wrong swara he used, it came out as the son who was to be killed by Indra. Okay, so the change in swara changed the meaning from the killer of Indra to the one who will be killed by Indra. Just to illustrate how important swara is, there are other examples also, but this is a good one. And therefore, the chanting has to be absolutely pristine, absolutely proper. And therefore, traditionally, we say that you don't look at YouTube for chanting, which is what a lot of people do today. You go to a teacher. And the chanting has to be from the teacher, because Veda is very clear. The rules are very clear that if Veda mantras are incorrectly chanted, either pronunciation is incorrect, the swara is incorrect, the result may range from no result to negative result. But that is why people who don't really learn the Veda chanting, they should be not be chanting the Veda at all. Then they are free to chant, Bhagavad Gita, and even the non-Vedic scriptures they can chant. All the Puranas, Itihasas, Vishnu Sahasramas, all that they can chant. But if you are chanting Veda, if you are chanting Upanishad or part of the Veda, the learning is from the Guru only. Okay, now there is an overriding clause to all this, which we have said lots of times. If you are chanting for Chitta Shuddhi, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, right? Now, obviously, when this gentleman was chanting for that son to kill Indra, it was not for Chitta Shuddhi, it was for a material result. For a material result, therefore, the rules have to be very strictly followed. So, if you are doing it for Chitta Shuddhi only, which I am sure all of you all are, I mean, I'm not saying you should chant incorrectly, right? But in chanting, if you forget something that Tanmay has said and you twist it upside down, it is okay. It doesn't matter. Next time you'll correct it. There are no negative results when the chanting is for Chitta Shuddhi. So that is as far as the second one is concerned. The third one is called Matra. Matra, the word Matra is relevant to the vowels only. And it refers to the length of the vowel, the length of time for which you are chanting the vowel. Consonants, remember, when chanting, consonants have uniform duration, but vowels have different duration. And the length for which the vowel is chanted, it is called a matra. And there are three measures: Rasva, Dirgha, and Pluta. So Rasva is short, Dirgha is long, and Pluta is literally, Pluta means prolated. Prolated means pulled, elongated. So the Pluta is an elongated one. Now to illustrate, in what we chant every day, Sahana Bhavatu, that much you take, Sahana Bhavatu. Saha is Rasva, short. Sa is short, Ha is short. Saha. Both are Rasva only. However, Na, Sahana, Na is a long vowel. It is Dirgha. Right? So that is the example of short and long, Hrasva and Dirgha. I'm sure many of you all are in the chanting classes, and those chanting rules have been explained 3-4 times. So if you have been there, it is fine. Now you look at the third one, Pluta, right? In Vedic books, if you see Harihi Om, there is a chant, there is a saying which you often say, Harihi Om. When you see the Vedic books, you will find that above the Om, there is a number 3. Numeral 3 is written. Wherever you find a numeral 3 in the Vedic books, it is to be taken as 3 matras. That is Pluta. Pluta, the normal time is 3 matras. 3 units of time. So of course, it is not necessary that Pluta should be only 3. There are mantras where Plutas have 4, 5, and 6 units. But normally it is 3. And therefore, in the chanting which we do, you will find 1 unit, Dirgha is 2 units, and Pluta is usually 3 units. This is the chanting that you will find in most of the mantras that we chant. We should remember what these mean. The Hrisva is indicated by a single line on top of the mantra. So if you look at, for example, if you have Channo Mitraha, if you look at no, on top of that there is 1 line. Right? So this 1 line is for what purpose? It is for not for the matra, it's for the pitch. But therefore don't confuse the 1 line and 2 line on top with the number 3. The 3 is for Pluta, it is for the length. Otherwise, you are learning the chant by learning from the teacher. Now we go to the 4th one, Balam. Balam is the stress applied in uttering a letter. For example, Cha. Cha has some amount of stress. Ha has more strength. Cha and Cha. That is the Balam. And this effort is either can be in the mouth region or in the throat region. Of course, there are elaborate, studies where the effort in the mouth region is divided into 5 different parts, and the throat region is divided into several parts, as much as 11 and all that. But, we are not going into all that. We just go with the very basics. The 5th one is Sama. Sama means the pace of chanting, the speed of the chanting. And we say that there is a small little, Shubhashitam. Abhyasarte dhritam vritam prayogarte tu madhyamam shishyanam upadesharthe kuryat vrittim vilambidam. So abhyasarte dhritam vritam. When you are chanting, so here Shankara says elsewhere that you should chant only after you memorize. All of us, of course, chant looking at the book. Shankara would not like that. Shankara says chanting can be done only after memorization. So if you will see any traditional Veda school in India, you will find that the students don't keep books. It is considered a defect to have a book in front of you. Therefore, first is the memorization. When the memorization is done, then you can either chant slow or medium or fast. And therefore, this Subhashitam means this small little verse, Abhyasarte dhritam vritam. When you are in the early days, once you memorize something, you have to repeat it daily, right? To keep it in memory, to keep your memory fresh, you would keep on repeating it daily, chanting it daily. One of the reasons for the daily chant is to make sure that you don't forget the verses, right? And in the old days, there was no written material. So if you forgot, you forgot. And therefore, you have to regularly chant to keep it fresh in your mind. And therefore, he says, Abhyasate dhritam vritam. If the chanting is for the purpose of your practice, of your memorization, then you can chant at a very fast pace, because nobody else is hearing. You are not teaching anybody. It is not involved in a ritual. So you are doing it, you can do it at a very fast pace. Then he says, Prayogarthe madhyamam. If you are using the mantra in a ritual, then there should be a medium pace. It should be clear enough to anybody who hears it. You can't just race through it. It's not slow enough to teach, but it is faster than that because you're doing the ritual, but the person who is listening should be able to understand. And therefore that medium pace is there. And Shishyanam upadesharthe vilambitam. If you are teaching a Shishya, then it should be a slow pace. Vilambit is a slow pace. So you should have vilambitam. It should be a very slow pace. Among these three, among the slow and the fast and the medium one is used for rituals when you are actually chanting. And here, Sama means the medium pace of chanting, which Shankara makes clear in his commentary, that it is a medium pace which is meant in this particular mantra. So mantra is saying that when you are chanting the mantra for a puja, or for a meditation, or a parayanam, you should make sure the pace is medium. And the last one is Santanaha. So we have done Varna, Swara, Matra, Balam, Samaha, and Santanaha. Santana normally means children and all that. So we are not looking at that. Santana here means combination of words and letters. So in chanting, you'll find that where letters should be combined. And suppose if you're looking at the word, you will find that in some cases letters are combined, in some cases letters are split. For all these, there are rules. For example, when there is a compound word is a combination of two words. Sandhi has been used. The rule is that when there is a compound word, you should not split. You should pronounce the whole compound word as one. So that are some of the rules. For the sake of teaching, of course, you might want to split. But strictly speaking, when the student has mastered that change, he should go back to the original text without splitting the compound word. Okay, when you combine words, a compound word is what? Words which are combined. When you combine words, this is all basic grammar. Okay, I'm sure most of you all know, but those who don't, you probably need to just hang on to it. When you combine words, they undergo certain changes. And this particular aspect is unique to Sanskrit. For example, take Shanno Mitra Shanvarra, right? When the words have been split, it is Sham, Naha, Mitraha. Sham, Naha, Mitraha. When the Sham combines with the Naha, the Ma changes into Na, and the Visarga, the Naha, becomes O. And therefore we got Shanno. Shanno is Sham, Naha. Mitraha. So Shanno Mitraha it becomes. Another example is Namaha Brahmane. So Namaha Brahmane combines to become Namo Brahmane. The Visarga changes into O. Namo Brahmane. Similarly, the common greeting that we use, Namaha Te. I pay my obeisances to you. Namaha Te. Right? But when you combine, what happens is the Visarga of Namaha changes into a half S. So Namaste it becomes. So therefore, these are the rules. Now the thing is that when you first learn to chant, you may not know the rules. And the rules are very complex. So if you want to first learn all the rules and then chant, it'll be a long time before you learn to chant. And therefore, that in the tradition, you simply imitate the Guru. Okay, you don't irritate him, imitate him. You might also be irritating him, but anyway. Why do we imitate him? Because he knows the rules, and the presumption is that he is chanting correctly. So we learn by imitation. Later on, as we go into the Sanskrit grammar and understand the rules, then it becomes clear in my mind why a particular word is pronounced in a particular manner. So these are the 6 factors to be followed in the chanting the Vedas, which is what is meant in this first Anuvaka. And they have to be followed properly. Therefore, by introducing this Anuvaka here, Shruti is saying that if you want to chant the Veda, please chant properly or don't chant at all. Chanting should be proper. That is why all the rules are given. Okay. Any questions so far? The first Anuvaka. Short Anuvaka basically gives the rules. Those who are doing the chanting classes, either with Tanmay or with Shivani, I'm sure all the rules are being followed. for Veda. Most of the rules are not applicable there for Bhagavad Gita, so I'm not using that as an example. Only those who have done the Upanishad chanting would know the rules. And of course, those who have done Vishnu Sahasranama would also know the rules. Any questions? Okay. Tanmay, can you chant Anuvaka number 3, please?
Om Acharya. Should I just chant the whole thing?
No, chant up to the Akasha Sandhi, the first section.
Okay. I meant just chant it or wait for...
No, it's a call and response. Like everybody also learn how to do it.
Sahanau yashaha.
Sahano yashaha.
That's not sah, but saha. Sahanau yashaha.
Sahano yashaha.
Sahanau brahmavarchasam.
Sahanau
brahmavarchasam.
Athatassamhitaya.
Athatassamhitaya.
Upanishadau vyakhyasyaamaha.
Upanishadamyasyamaha.
Panchasvadhikaraneshu.
Panchasavadhikaraneshu.
Adhilokamadhijyotisham.
Adilokam
Jyotisham, not Jyotisham, Jyotisham.
Jyotisham.
Adhilokamadhijyotisham.
Adilokam
Adhividyamaditrajam.
Adividyam
Adhyatmam.
Adhyatmam
Tamaha Samhita.
Mamasamhita
Ityachakshate.
Ityachate
Adhadhilokam.
Athadilokam
Prithvi Purvarupam.
Prithivipurvarupam
Yauruttararupam.
Yauruttararupam
Akashastandhihi.
Akashasandhihi.
Okay, great. Now you may have seen that, for example, this is the third sentence, Athatas Sagum. He said Sagum. Okay, it's not, if you look at that, it's only Anuswara, and it's not, it's a Vedic Anuswara, so the pronunciation becomes Gum. That you must remember. Here it is not actually shown. The real, what do you call, mark for this is the half moon plus a stroke. I hope you guys know what I mean, right? It's Adha Chandra plus a stroke there. So in the, here unfortunately it's coming as a dot, but actually if you see, in fact if you see the one I have sent you, the PDF file, you will find that there is a Adha Chandra. The half moon will be there with a dot on it and a stroke. That is the representation that it should be Sagum and not Sam. Okay, so anyway, and that's only about the chanting part. So Sahanau Yashaha. The first, there's the simple meaning. Sahanau Yashaha. Sahanau. May we both Yashaha enjoy fame. Right? Then Sahanau. May we both Brahma Varchasam. Varchasam is spiritual effulgence, you might say. So Brahma Varchasam is a glow on the face of a Vedic student, which is supposed to be there because they are studying the Veda. So Brahma Varchasam, the spiritual glow on your face. So Saha now, what Brahma Varchasam, may we both have this spiritual glow on our face. Then Atha. So there are two words, Atha and Atha. One is the th, one is the ta. Atha, ata. That is the breakup of atha, ata. Okay, atha, ata. Atha means what? Now. Ataha, since. So those two words have different meanings. Atha means now, and atha all of us are familiar with because of atha yoga anushasanam. Everybody knows, right? So atha is meaning now. Ata means since. Okay, so atha, ataha, now since. The rest of it to complete. Now since what? You have to connect it to Anuvaka number 2. What is the meaning therefore of atha, 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 atha? If you are connecting atha, atha to Anuvaka 2, what is going to be the meaning?
Since
Now,
you know
since
the
you have learnt
grammar
the
now.
chanting and the memorization properly.
Yes, now that you are all familiar. Okay, I'm not saying you are familiar, okay, but this is a Gurukula where a Gaya, some student has done for ages. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Therefore, Ataha, now that the student is familiar with the science of Vedic chanting, Vyakhya Samaha, I will teach or we shall teach what? Upanishadam. Upanishadam here is not the Upanishad, that is the teaching of the Upanishad, meaning on meditation. Meditation on Samhitaya. Samhitaya means the conjunction of the letters, and that's the first part. Atha, Atha. Since now the student is familiar with the Vedic chanting, we shall now teach the meditation on the sandhi of letters, on the conjunction of letters, on the combination of letters. And panchasam adhikaraneshu. Adhikaranam is a technical word for a topic. It's not adhikar, okay? It's adhikarana. So adhikaranam is a topic. You'll find, especially in Brahma Sutra, you'll find that lots of topics are there. Each topic is called adhikarana. Therefore, panchasam adhikaranam, there are topics related to 5 topics. Whereas we are talking about meditation related to 5 topics. Panchasam adhikaraneshu. And what are the topics? Adhilokam, related to the worlds. Adhi Jyotisham, related to Jyotisham, the luminaries. Adhividyam, related to knowledge. Adhiprajam, related to children. And Adhyatmam, related to the individual. So these are meditations which are teaching. And Achakshate Taha iti Maha Samhitaha. We call them the great Maha Samhita. Samhita is a conjunction, a combination. So Achakshate means call. Taha is those. Those 5 combinations are called Maha Samhitaha, the great combinations. These are now going to be taught. Okay. Now this is also, this Anuvaka is in the, they have, all Anuvakas have names, right? Here it is called the Samhitopasanam, or meditation on Samhitas. And you can look at the Anuvaka. It's a very long Anuvaka with about 3 different sections or 4 different sections. And therefore, we'll start by breaking them up into small Anuvakas. So we are taking the first portion only now, right? That is what Tanmay chanted. The chapter in general, the first chapter, Shiksha Valli. So Valli means what? Chapter over here. Okay? Adhyaya is not the word used in this Upanishad. Valli is the name of a chapter. So you have Shiksha Valli, you have Brahvalli, all those Ananda Valli, Brahmananda Valli. These are all different Vallis, different chapters. The first one is Shiksha Valli. Remember, this Valli here is a chapter. So the first Valli talks about Karma Yoga. Remember, I mentioned in the very beginning that the Upanishad, the teaching in this Upanishad, the very Jnana Yoga teaching is only there in the second Valli called Brahmananda Valli or Brahma Valli or Ananda Valli. All 3 names are there. So it is only in the second chapter, second Valli. The first chapter and the third chapter, they have different topics. And the first chapter talks about Karma Yoga, values, attitudes, and some sort of sadhanas. for like Parayanam, Japa, and also talks about a fourth type of sadhana called Upasanam. Upasanam meaning preparatory meditation. And Upasana and Nididhyasanam have to be understood differently. Upasana, whenever we are using the term Upasana as the meditation done before coming to Jnana. So non-Vedantic meditation is Upasana. And whenever you say Nididhyasanam, you are using the term as meditation post coming to Jnanam. The very subject is different. You will be meditating on the teaching itself at that point of time. And in this particular mantra, the first part, the first Upasana is being introduced. And that Upasana is called Samhito Upasana. Now, as we go through the Upasana, you will find that it is extremely technical and looks very tough to practice. Okay? And of course, we need to say that nowadays, generally, these are only of academic interest and they are not practiced by most people. Because nowadays, the Vedic Upasanas have been replaced by Upasanas of the Puranas, where Ekarupa Ishvara is involved, and therefore that Upasana is relatively simple. The study of the Upasanas is very sacred, and that is why this Anuvaka begins with another prayer for the successful study of the Upasana. So he says, Saha now Yashaha. Yashaha is popular. May both of us, my Acharya and I, become popular. Okay. Then Saha now. So now remember, when you break up now, it becomes Naha, us. Naha means us. That pronunciation Naha is important. If you don't do the Visarga, it will become Sahana Yasha. Sahana Yasha means may both I and my Guru not have any popularity at all. So it's not Na, it is Naha. That Visarga is extremely important. And here, of course, you are seeing it as now. So Saha, Naha, Yashaha. May I and my Guru become popular. Saha, Naha, Brahma Varchasam. This Brahma Varchasam is the glow in your personality born out of a spiritual way of life. Right? And therefore he says, may I and my teacher also have this Brahma Varchasam, this Brahma Tejas we call it. Why? Because if I have that Brahma Varchasam, other students will consider me as a very learned, accomplished person who has this spiritual way of life, and he will come to me to learn. And therefore, every Vedic student considers that it is important not only to receive the knowledge from his teacher, but also to share with others. Right? Now, in the old system, a Kshatriya and Vaishya, for example, they should learn. They need not teach. But the Brahmana had to learn, and he had a duty to teach also. So, Patanam, Pathanam, Yajanam, Yajanam. Those were the duties for the Brahmana. Now, when I study the Shastram, I am indebted to the Rishis, to my Acharya, of course, and to the original Rishis, because of whom the teaching is available to me. And that Rishi Rinam, it is called, the debt owed to the Rishis. There is only one way, says Shastra, that you can fulfill that debt, you can pay back the debt. That Rishi Rinam can be removed only by teaching others. And therefore, every Vedic student no Vedic student wants to die in this life carrying the Rinam. Because if you're carrying a debt, then you will be reborn to pay that debt, right? So you don't want to, unless of course you get moksha in the beginning, but nobody knows. So we don't want to carry that debt. And therefore, every Vedic student wants to repay that debt. And therefore, I would like to teach. And if circumstances are such that I cannot teach, then at least I can indirectly support the teaching by way of money, or by way of setting up institutions, teaching Vedas, and so on. So every student knows that he wants to teach, and for that he must have an ashram, And for the ashram to run, he needs some money, and therefore he has to be popular. He should be well known so that students will come to him. This is the prayer. Hence, let us both be popular. Okay. Remember here that this is the student chanting. The student is asking. The guru need not ask because the guru is fulfilled. He is kritarthaha. He is the one who has no more needs. And only a kritarthaha, the one who does not need to do anything more for liberation, only he can teach. Only he can be a acharya. Okay. Then athata hitaya Upanishadam Vyakyasyamaha. So when Samhita is chanted in Veda, it has to be pronounced Sagamhita. If you're wondering what the Sagamhita is, it is Samhita. And the Ma is, as I said, because of the Vedic rule, it becomes Gum. So Sagamhita is basically only Samhita. And that Anuswara turns into Gum when, no, I'm giving only an example. When it is followed by, Anuswara is followed by Ha or a Ra, these rules apply. These are not the only rules, a lot of rules apply, but basically I'm just saying why it is Sagamhita, because in Vedic chanting, when that Samhita is followed by a Ha, which it is in this example, you will find that the Anuswara is pronounced followed by Ha. Therefore, it becomes Sagamhita. So, Atha. After learning the science of chanting, Atha, Atha. Now, after learning the science of chanting, which means that the student is familiar with the letters, alphabets, as well as the various chanting methods. So, you have Padapatha, Kramapatha, Jathapatha, Ganapatha. In the next class, I will ask Arvind to give us some of the demonstrations of these various kinds of pathas. There are various methods of chanting. And therefore, here, Upanishad doesn't mean the text. Upanishad means dhyanam, meditation, upasana. And what is the upasana on? On Samhita. Samhita is a combination of letters. Therefore, this first upasana which is mentioned here is upasana on this combination of letters. What kind of upasana is this? You know that for doing upasana, you need some object, the upasyam, the object of meditation. What is called upasana vishaya, the subject or the object of meditation. And since upasana is supposed to be on the Lord himself, Shiva, Vishnu, are all abstract concepts. And to try to meditate on Vishnu or on Shiva, you can't really meditate on something which you cannot conceive of, conceptualize. So what do? We take a symbol which is called alambanam. Alambanam is basically the one which something hangs. So this symbol which we use is called upasana alambanam. For example, in Shiva, it could be Shivalinga. So the Shivalinga is a concrete piece of stone which you have in front of you, and on that stone you're invoking Lord Shiva. So the alambanam is Shiva. The upasana vishaya, the object of upasana is always abstract because it is a Lord. But the alambanam on which the Lord is invoked, it is always concrete, which you can visualize, or in front of you it is there. And in this particular upasana, this alambanam, the symbol, is Samhita. Samhita means a Vedic combination of letters. And Samhita is also known as Sandhihi. Now, in any Vedic combination of letters, the combination is governed by several rules. So we will not go into all that. It takes months to get these rules correct. So those who are doing Sanskrit elsewhere, they would know the rules. Those who are not doing, just remember that any sandhi, any combination is governed by several complex rules. For example, I've already given you one, namaste. So namaha is nama plus visarga, te And when you combine, what happens? A new letter comes in the beginning, namaste, right? So take that word only namaste because we are all familiar with it. It is namaha, na, ma, with the two dots with visarga, plus te. Te means you. So namaha te, I pay my obeisances to you. That becomes namaste. Now if you look at namaste, just where the combination takes place, try to visualize the word where the combination takes place. You will find there is a visarga first and the next word is te. So this visarga, the word before the combination takes place, there are two words, the previous word and the later word. And where the combination takes place, at that location, a new word comes, which in this case of namaste, the new alphabet is half sa. Half sa is not there before the combination. There is a namaha plus a te. When it combines, it becomes namaste, right? The visarga turns into the half sa. So this earlier alphabet is going to be called Purva Rupam, earlier alphabet. And that is, in this case, it is a visarga, Purva Rupam, and the te, the later alphabet, is going to be called Uttara Rupam. And when Purva Rupam literally means earlier form. Uttara Rupam means later form, right? So when this Purva Rupam and Uttara Rupam come together, when they join together, these are all very important terms. The junction at which they join, that is called Sandhihi, right? And at that junction, an additional letter comes into being, takes birth. That arriving letter is called Sandhanam. So you have Pura Rupam, Uttara Rupam. You have the place at which they combine, the locus, what is called Sandhihi, and a new letter is born at that locus. It is called Sandhanam. So in the Namaste, the Purva Rupam is the Visarga, the Uttara Rupam is the letter Ta or Te. The locus at which they come together is called Sandhihi, and the Sandhanam is the half sa. The letter which links the Purva Rupam to the Uttara Rupam is called the Sandhanam. When these words are separated, that linking letter will also go away. I hope I'm making sense.
So the complete outcome is Sandhanam, right, Acharya?
Outcome is not Sandhanam. Sandhanam is the linking letter which comes into being, and the other two letters join together, and a new word is formed. A new compound, Sanyuktaksharam, is formed. Compound word is formed. So Namaste is the compound word consisting of two words, Namaha and Te. The Sa is the Sandhanam.
Okay, understood, Acharya. Thank you.
Anybody?
Om Acharya ji.
Yes.
The name of the length of the word that has 3 time units is Pluta.
Pluta. More than 2 units. 3, 4,
Pluta.
5, 6. Normally 3. Can be more. Pluta.
Pluta. Okay. Can you write later in the chat?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, so Namaste has only 2 individual, like Namaha and Te, ideally to.
Yeah, that is, we are taking only 2 for understanding purposes. You can have compound words having more than that.
Yeah. So, but just understanding the Namaste part. So
Yeah,
Namaha and Te together, it's becoming Namas. That Sa is the.
Yeah, the half sa is the Sandhanam.
Sand. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I need you to understand this because it's based on these names that the Upasana is going to be done. That's why I said it's a very complex Upasana. It is not done nowadays. For one, nobody knows what words combine with what words and what new words come. So we don't do, but it is useful to get a taste of what a Vedic Upasana is like.
Acharya, what was the Itya Chakshate? That is the...
Achakshate means it is being said.
Okay.
Iti achakshate. This is now being said, or this has been said already.
About the Mahasamhita.
Or the Mahasamhita.
Okay. And have we done the Atha Adhilokam?
No, we have not done as yet.
Okay.
Okay, I'm still on the Sandhi portion.
Yeah, understood, Acharya.
Atha Adhilokam is the next Upasana. This Upasana is Samhita Upasana. On the Samhita Upasana, there are 5 portions. Adhilokam is the first of those 5. Okay, that I'm explaining. And therefore, this Upasana, because the fact that it is done on a Samhita, on the combination, it is called a Samhita Upasana. Now we have got 4 different symbols, right? Each of those is a Alambanam. So there is Purvarupam is there, the earlier symbol, earlier form of the letter. Uttararupam is there, Sandhi is there, Sandhanam is there. All these 4 are Alambanams, locations to invoke something. That's why all this talk. What the Sandhi portion is only to understand what they are. What do you mean when you say Purvarupam? What do you mean when you say Uttararupam? What do you mean when you say Sandhihi? And what is Sandhanam? This was the explanation for that. Now on these, there are 4 symbols, 4 Alambanam. And on each of these Alambanams, you are going to take 4 objects and associate that. So in the first Upasana, for example, you take 4 objects on each of these Alambanams, practice the Upasana, then you sort of dismiss the object, so to say. Then you use the same Alambanam, but you use different objects. Right? So the first Upasana has these 4 Alambanams with 4 objects. The second Upasana has the same 4 Alambanams, but 4 different objects. Similarly, third Upasana has same 4 Alambanam, but different objects. The fourth Upasana has, and so on. Right? Therefore, totally, you will get certain number of objects for your meditation. And these objects are taken from 5 different areas. And each field, each of the areas is called a Adhikaranam. That is why he says Pancha Sva Adhikaraneshu. From 5 different fields, the objects which are to be used for the Upasana, which are to be invoked on the Alambanam, they are being taken. Okay, that is so we have come up to Pancha Swadhikaraneshu, which means we are going to use objects for invocation on each Alambanam, and these objects are taken from 5 different areas. Now 5 different areas are there, 4 objects in each Upasana is there. Totally there are 20 objects in this Upasana. Okay, 20 different objects, 5 into 4, 20 objects will be there. Now somebody might say, why should the Upanishad prescribe such a difficult combination of upasanas on Vedic combination, blah, 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 right? That first thing that comes to our mind is what a complex Upasana. The answer is simple. In the old days, everybody studied the Veda for 10 to 12 years, from the age of 8 onwards, right? Therefore, different types of chanting like Padapatha, Kramapatha, Jatapatha, Ghanapatha, all these they were familiar with, because all these have to be chanted using the Sandhi rules. That is why in the beginning they said Atha. After being thoroughly familiar with Vedic chanting, all these Alambanams will be known to him, because they are all Vedic letters only, and therefore for him it will be easy to chant. He has no problem at all remembering all that, because he has chanted it for so many years. Okay, now comes Pancha Swadhikaraneshu. What are the 5 different areas from each area, 4 objects are to be invoked, and that is given Adilokam, Adijyotisham, Adividyam, Adiprajam, Adhyatmam. There are 5 different areas. Adilokam means the various lokas. Adijyotisham means the various luminaries like the sun, the moon, the stars, fire, etc. Adividyam means jnanam, knowledge. Adiprajam is related to family and children. Adhyatmam means your own body. And from each of these 5 areas, 4 objects are to be chosen and are to be invoked on the 4 alambanam. And therefore, these 4 factors, alambanams, Purva Rupam, Uttara Rupam, Sandhihi, and Samadhanam, they are called the Maha Alambanam. That's why they use the word Maha Samhita. Why Maha Samhita? Great Samhita. It is great because in Samhita Upasana, you are invoking the gods, the devatas on the letters. And by connecting the alphabets to the devatas, because the devatas are sacred and great, the alphabets also become sacred and great. And in the upasanas, 4 devatas will be invoked in each of these 5 adhikaranams, giving us a total of 20 devatas. Okay. Anything so far? Heavy, heavy. I never said Taittiriya Upanishad is not going to be heavy.
Acharya, I think probably with examples, it will make a lot more sense.
Yes, it will. So we'll wind up with this last half line. Ta Mahasagamhita Itya Chakshate. So we have come to Pancha Swadhikaraneshu has been taken. Adilokam, Adijyotisham, Adividyam, Adiprajam, Adhyatmam we explained. And Ta Mahasagamhita Itya Chakshate. These great Vedic letters are Achakshate. They are called Mahasamhita. So all the 5 fields with 4 objects upon each of the 4 alambanams, they are called Mahasamhitas, the great Samhita Upasana. With this, we'll stop for today. Remember, we'll start from the next one, which is, we have not completed that particular section. It starts from Athadi Lokam. From that, we will start in the next class. Right now, we'll stop here to enable you to digest. And I will again request you to please go over it again, understand every word that has been said. Because unlike the Bhagavad Gita, if you don't understand one particular mantra, the next mantra will be Greek to you.
Raviji, can I ask something?
Please, please.
So there are 2 times this word Sagamhita comes. One says in the 3rd line, and one says Mahasagamhita. So the first time it comes, it is the conjunction of letters.
It
Which
is
is what
saying
you
that it's a
explained.
conjunction of letters. And the second time it is coming, it is telling you that this is actually a great combination of letters because the devatas are being invoked on these letters. And that's why it has become sacred now.
Okay, they're still letters only, right?
They're combinations. Sagamhita is the combination. Letters only, of course, but the combined one, Sandhi part of it.
Right. And this Sagamhita becomes an alambanam for 20 devatas, and
For
that
20
is what is
devatas.
being called as
Yeah.
Maha
That,
Sagamhita.
because there are so many devatas being invoked in all the alambanams, that combination of 4 alambanams, that is being called the Mahasagamhita. The Maha combinations.
Okay.
This is all Purva Veda. So, you should be happy that Purva Veda we don't study too much. Purva Veda is highly ritualistic and requires a lot of effort. Jnana Kanda we basically understand. Okay, so this will stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Acharya.